we don't identify ourselves as Muslims and Christians in Nigeria. We identify ourselves from regions. She has already exposed her ignorance and lack of knowledge about Nigeria, and it's easy for her to sit thousands of miles away and play games with people's lives. These are real
I'm not the one playing games with people's lives. 7,000 Christians have been murdered in Nigeria. 7,000 Christians have been murdered in Nigeria. Who's playing games with people's lives?
Does not even know whether Nigeria has a president or a prime minister. You can see how she's waffling, she's stumbling. But this is typical of...
I think you're showing your own ignorance. The fact that you're not able to actually counter what I'm saying, and instead you're going after these things that are irrelevant, that just shows how ignorant you are.
Foreign Minister, you have had United States senators like Ted Cruz saying publicly that at least 50,000 Christians have been murdered since 2009. If you're saying that number is wildly exaggerated, what is the number?
I keep giving you the numbers, but clearly, you are not...
You're not. You're giving me the numbers since in the last 5 years.
Accept the numbers, or even listen to what I'm saying. 102, 177, number injured, 98, number abducted, 7. Okay? So we are not hiding any facts. But as I said, we don't go about trying to identify a Nigerian's faith when they've lost their lives. Because you've moved on.
The reason that I know that you are working with the Islamic Republic of Iran is because the Islamic Republic puts out the same narrative about balkanization. That balkanization narrative is something that the Islamists constantly use.
That Africans are a disgrace to the Canadian nation. I'm shocked that you say that you actually practice as a politician in Canada. Move on to the next episode. Leave us alone.
Your Minister of Foreign Affairs thought he was going to meet Nigerian press. That is one. Two, he thought that because it's a paid advertorial, he didn't expect that somebody would challenge him this way. He went there just to sell an agenda of the government, to tell you what the government has at the back of their mind. Your minister had come down to listen, to address issues. The way he talked like a garage boy. That's where he was talking. And you know what happens to a kid when you collect the sweet from a kid? The kid will revolt. So your minister was revolting because he got confused. He wasn't well packaged. He didn't know what to say. So at that point in time, he felt that, attack is the best form of defense.
What's happening in Nigeria is jihad. It's the exact same thing that happened on October 7 by Islamists when they broke into Israel and murdered Jews yelling Allahu Akbar. It's the exact same thing that ISIS terrorists did to the Yazidis in Iraq. It's the exact same thing that happened in Lebanon. Here's the only difference between what's happening today in Nigeria versus what happened 1,400 years ago when the Muslim Arab invaders came to Persia is that back then people did not have cameras, but today they do. It is 100% jihad. We've seen it before. This is how the Islamist playbook always happens.
Well, I don't think that the foreign minister was denying that bad things have been happening. He's just denying that it constitutes a genocide and that the numbers of reported
because his government is a part of it.
Of murders of Christians.
I think his government is.
I hear what he said because his government is part of it. That his government is complicit. I don't know whether you hear him.
Precious.
No, I could just put down, listen, not vex. For the purpose of people who know what I'm not vexed.
Let's say right now you have an Islamist government in Nigeria. One of the things that he didn't mention to you is that typically it's been a constitutional convention.
We have an Islamic government in Nigeria.
That if the prime minister is Muslim, then if the president is Muslim, then the vice president is Christian. If the president is Christian, then the vice president is Muslim. This is intended to have a proper representation of the Nigerian population. Right now, you have a Muslim president, and then they decided to choose a Muslim vice president, and so there is actually no Christian representation in the Islamist government. By the way, this is a government that is working closely behind the scenes with the Islamic Republic of Iran. You should ask the foreign minister why Nigerian school children are holding pictures of the Ayatollah, who is a brutal dictator and is murdering my people in Iran. People need to look into the linkages between the current Nigerian government and the Islamic Republic of Iran. I was a politician for 7 years, Pierce, and I can tell when someone is lying and avoiding the truth. That's exactly what this foreign minister is doing, and shame on him for lying.
With all due respect to the lady, I'm sorry, I forget her name. She has already exposed her ignorance and lack of knowledge about Nigeria, and it's easy for her to sit thousands of miles away and and play games with people's lives. These are real
I'm not the
lives
one
we're
playing
talking
games
about.
with people's lives. 7,000 Christians have been murdered in Nigeria. 7,000 Christians have been murdered in Nigeria. Who's playing games with people's lives?
Does not even know whether Nigeria has a president or a prime minister. You can see how she's waffling, she's stumbling. But this is typical of.
I think you're showing your own ignorance. The fact that you're not able to actually counter what I'm saying, and instead you're going after these things that are irrelevant, that just shows how ignorant you are.
Saber rattling, trade in saber rattling. It is typical. You can see she's exposing herself. She doesn't even know the country that she's trying to start a crusade on, and drawing comparisons with Gaza. It's clear what she's trying to do. We have a constitution that has, go and read my constitution before you even try to have a discussion with me. Look up sections 10, 38, and 42 of our constitution. There is federal character enshrined in our constitution. It's part and parcel of it. And the priority is the region where you come from, because we don't identify ourselves as Muslims and Christians in Nigeria. We identify ourselves from regions, geopolitical regions, place where we come from.
But do you accept? All right, Foreign Minister. Foreign Minister, let me jump in. Foreign Minister. Foreign Minister. Foreign Minister, if I may. Foreign Minister, if I may. Foreign Minister, do you accept that there is a big problem? We can quibble over precise numbers, but you've already said by your own numbers, over 100 Christian churches have been attacked. You won't commit to how many Christians have been killed. I think you're slightly hiding behind the fact you don't know what all their religion was, but you must know how many people have been killed.
I can give you figures. You did not ask me. I can give you figures of those that lost their lives when.
How many Christians have been murdered in Nigeria since 2009?
Since over the last 5 years, I can categorically tell you that 177 have been killed, and it does not mean that the killing.
But you said to me. You said to me earlier. You said to me earlier you didn't. Yeah, but hang on. Foreign Minister, with respect.
Muslims. They are not necessarily Muslims.
Foreign Minister.
To understand that.
Foreign Minister, with respect, earlier when I asked you that question, you said you didn't know the number because many of the people who've been killed, you didn't know what religion they were. So which is it?
So I am telling you, number killed when churches were attacked. I told you the number of the churches that were attacked.
Now, how many Christians? You misunderstood my question. How many? I want to know. Yes, but Foreign Minister, you have had United States senators like Ted Cruz saying publicly that at least 50,000 Christians have been murdered since 2009. If you're saying that number is wildly exaggerated, what is the number?
I keep giving you the numbers, but clearly, you are not.
You're not. You're giving me the numbers since in the last 5 years.
Accept the numbers, or even listen to what I'm saying. 102, 177, number injured 98, number abducted 7. Okay, so we are not hiding any facts. But as I said, we don't go about trying to identify a Nigerian's faith when they've lost their lives. That is. But
do you condemn? Foreign Minister, do you condemn the attacks and the murder on Christians by Islamist groups in Nigeria?
Absolutely, 100%. I lost my father-in-law to an attack by an Islamic terrorist group, Boko Haram. So I myself, I'm a victim. I've lost family members to attacks, and they were Muslims. But it doesn't matter whether they're Muslim or Christian, because their aim is to kill, to maim, so that they would.
There's a reason that we're seeing these Islamic militants going around and yelling Allahu Akbar. That's not by coincidence. There's a reason that they are attacking Christians on Christmas Eve. Let's not forget that back in
murder on Christians by Islamist groups in Nigeria.
Absolutely, 100%. I lost my father-in-law to an attack by an Islamic terrorist group, Boko Haram. So I myself, I'm a victim. I've lost family members to attacks, and they were Muslims. But it doesn't matter whether they're Muslim or Christian, because their aim is to kill, to maim, so that they would achieve their objectives. And the number one enemy of Boko Haram is not a Christian. It is a Muslim who does not subscribe to their own brand of Islam.
Okay, I mean, Goldie Gamari, let me bring you back in there. Wider problem with Islamist terrorism.
Well, there's definitely a problem with Islamist terrorism, but just because Muslims are being murdered, it does not negate the fact that there is a targeted ethnic cleansing of Christian Nigerians. One does not negate the other. What we can conclude from this is that there is definitely an Islamist problem. Now, one thing that the Nigerian minister is purposely forgetting to put out there is that it's not just Boko Haram, it's also the Fulani militants. Not a lot of people know about the Fulani militants. The Fulani Islamists are also the ones who are generally targeting the Christian Nigerians, especially in the Plateau Belt. And I've had several Nigerian Christians come on and speak about this. In fact, I have seen videos where you have the Fulani militants, on their motorcycles with machetes. They're driving through various towns, and you have the Nigerian military who's supposed to prevent them from going. They're getting orders to stand down and allow the Fulani militants to go through. Again, Pierce, the loss of life is horrible. But as you can tell from the minister, he's avoiding questions. He's avoiding eye contact. Instead of actually answering the questions, he's focusing more on trying to attack me and trying to, go after me because I'm not as familiar with the Constitution. I don't need to be familiar with the Constitution of Nigeria to understand that, over 50,000 Christians have been murdered since 2009. I don't have to be familiar with the Constitution of Nigeria to know that when someone yells Allahu Akbar before they massacre 200 Christians and burn Christian churches, that's not just banditry, that's jihad. And I think the reason that the foreign minister does not want to admit this is because they are somehow complicit in this. And, he is purposely saying that he is willfully ignorant, because how could the Nigerian government not know if those people who have been murdered are Christian or Muslim? The reason that he's avoiding saying that is because if they actually put out formal numbers about the numbers of Christians targeted and murdered, then they will have to admit that there was a genocide. They don't want to admit that there's a genocide, but that's exactly what's happening, and I'm glad President Trump and others are calling it out.
Well, like I said, the lady and people like her trade in starting wars in faraway places where they have no contacts, they have no understanding of, and they can do that from their armchairs from a safe distance. It's a real life situation. This lady would not know the difference between a Fulani man, a Tiv man, an Igbo man, if they stood in front of her. But you can see clearly overnight, because it pays, she's probably making money out of it.
I'm getting $0 for this. I'm getting paid zero. I'm getting paid zero for this. I have been speaking out against human rights violations. Listen, Pierce, as you can tell, he's not able to actually answer anything that I'm saying. All he does is just attack me and attack my credibility. So I think this shows the viewers exactly where the Nigerian government is.
She's going to keep on insisting that she has not heard the figures. So that's what she's trying to do, start a war. They want to break up Nigeria the same way they broke up Sudan, and now they've run away. She's not talking about Sudan anymore. She's not talking about South Sudan.
I actually have talked about Sudan in other episodes as well.
For Sudan to be dismembered. This is what they do. What they try to do to Africa. Nigeria is the largest country on the African continent. It is the largest shock absorber to the African continent in terms of admitting migrants, in terms of freedom of religion. It's Africa's largest democracy. But people like you, who don't really care about freedoms, about the freedoms of either Christians or Muslims or Africans, will continue to agitate for the breakup of Nigeria, for war, the same way that it's happening in South Sudan, and you've kept mom losing their lives. To you, it's just another black country to be broken up. You don't care who dies.
Your hands are the one that's covered in blood, not mine.
But we've seen you.
Not mine. I'm not denying the Christian genocide, but you are.
It's not going to happen to Nigeria.
Shame on you.
Move on to your next project. Move on to your next, your disgrace to the Canadian nation. I'm shocked that you say that you actually practice as a politician in Canada. Move on to the next episode. Leave us alone.
Your Minister of Foreign Affairs thought he was going to meet Nigerian press. That is one. Two, he thought that because it's a paid advertorial, he didn't expect that somebody would challenge him this way. And the unfortunate thing with the Nigerian government officials is that they leave issues and attack persons. They attack personalities. They do it in Nigeria every day. Peter Obi will give a speech talking about issues of bad governance. Rather than address the issues, they will now start telling you that Peter Obi is suffering from losing election, that he has not gotten over it. Atiku will talk. They will tell you that Atiku is a man who runs away after election to foreign land. So it's when you don't have grasp of the situation, when you're not sure, when you know that whatever you're going to say will not solve the problem, then you will not say whatever comes to your mind. I mean, the honorable minister should have been smart enough to have at his fingertips, statistics that is reasonable. We're not saying you should have the real statistics, because government will never release the real statistics. But we're saying you should have statistics that gives you some level of credibility when you speak. But no, he went there just to sell an agenda of the government, to tell you what the government has at the back of their mind. He had a script he has written in his head, and he's trying to read the script out. He's not there to be proactive. He's not there to answer to direct questions. He's just there like a student who has crammed for an examination. Then when you cram for an examination and then you enter the exam hall and the question is tweeted, you will not be able to reason immediately to know that instead of putting "and" is, you will now begin to vomit that thing you have crammed out first. And that's what your minister did. It shows you how shameful your minister should be. It shows you the fact that your minister has no grasp of what it means to be a minister. It's unfortunate. If your minister had calmed down to listen, to address issues, the way he talked like a garage boy. That's the way he was talking. And you know what happens to a kid when you collect the script from a kid? The kid will revolt. So your minister was revolting because he got confused. He wasn't well packaged. He didn't know what to say. So at that point in time, he felt that, attack is the best form of defense. But unfortunately, he goofed. Because if you take this, what he has said, in context of what is happening in Nigeria, you know that the man has goofed. It's the same mantra of the government. Oh, you want to break up Nigeria. Oh, you want to take our mineral resources. Oh, you want to do this. But the question is, in everything that's going on in Nigeria, how many Nigerians are really enjoying the natural resources? How many Nigerians today are feeling the dividends of democracy? In a country where there's so much poverty, so much hunger, people are becoming depressed every day, people are just dying anyhow. You don't have a good health system, you don't have good roads, you can't even rely on the government for anything. So it's not about the position of, they want to break up Nigeria. No, but what are you doing? As a leader, what are you doing to safeguard Nigeria? What are you doing to safeguard the people of Nigeria? Even while he was doing his press interview and all of that, people were still being killed. You saw how a brigadier general was killed. In the midst of all of this, 25 children got kidnapped. And the story behind that kidnap makes it look very, very it makes it look stupid. Because now the police came and said, oh, they engaged them in a shootout, and then they scaled the fence. So as they were scaling the fence, they were scaling with the girls. So you see how government keeps lying. And I keep saying that, it is the lie of government that is, putting the wedge between the people and the government. And then looking at it further, you also find out that the woman raised a very pertinent question. You have a Muslim president, you have a Muslim vice president, and your minister is talking about your constitution that talks about, what did you call it, national character. He didn't think straight. You are saying something that already is flawed, and you're trying to use it to defend yourself. You're talking about the Nigerian constitution, the constitution that has Quran and Islam mentioned several times in it. How many times is Christianity mentioned in it? How many times is the Bible mentioned in it? So when people go out to go and defend a cause, they must be able to study. They must be able to read. They must be able to be, well informed and endowed on what they're going to say. You don't bring out a book that you say, oh, in this book is our Bible. But meanwhile, that book, everybody knows that book is flawed. And you're using it and you're quoting it. So for me, your minister goofed. He goofed. So I'm sure when he watches this video and the president watches it, they will tell him, Oga, you don't goof, you don't miss yarn. You were not prepared. And that is the truth.